Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today is going to be a good episode with my friend Brendan Burns at KUIU. Before we get to that, I want to thank you guys for listening to my podcast and being such a loyal listener. I also want to thank the sponsors of this podcast. I want to thank Go Hunt Insider. Go Hunt Insider is the best Western hunting resource tool to figure out draw odds, harvest statistics, to look at strategy articles for the different animals for different states, different species. Go to gohunt.com/JScott. You're going to get a $50 Go Hunt Gear Shop gift card. I want to thank them for their sponsorship. I also want to thank Go Hunt, the optics department. My friend Cody Nelson of 20 plus years is the optics manager. If you guys have any optics needs at all, whether it be binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, rifle scopes, tripods, anything to do with glassing, give Cody a call at 702-847-8747. That's extension 2. I want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. I've been wearing the KUIU gear since the latter part of 2010. KUIU gear is a direct-to-consumer model. You can go to KUIU.com to order directly off the website. I want to thank onxmaps.com. Onx Maps is a tool that I use every single day in my real estate business, my hunting, and my fishing. It's got a great public-private land overlay. It's got a toggle that you can go back and forth between an aerial, a topo, and a hybrid mode. It's got a breadcrumb feature. Go to onxmaps.com, use the JScott20 promo code, and it's going to save you 20%. Phonescope.com, use the JScott20 promo code. It's going to save you 10% discount there at Phonescope. And then Apex Ammunition. Apex, I'm going to be shooting the TSS, the Tungsten Super Shot this turkey season. Go to apexmunition.com. You can also go to the show notes of this podcast and link to all of the sponsors. I appreciate you guys supporting these guys because they support this podcast. Let's get right to the show.
Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. I've got Brendan Burns of KUIU on the line. Brendan, how you doing?
Doing well, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's kind of crazy times out there right now. I think it's, the last couple of weeks has been one of those things where all of us as hunters, I feel like us hunters have been able to probably manage a little bit better with everything going on, as far as, we know where our food comes from and, we know how to survive, and I think those survival skills come in handy in times like this. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think most of us have been practicing social distancing for quite a while now, half the time. It's definitely interesting times, and it's just, being resilient and able to take care of yourself is obviously, I wouldn't say it's like a warm blanket, but you feel good at the fact that, got plenty in the freezer and, you can take care of yourself. And it's one of those things where you don't want to freak too many people out or anything. It's like we all know what's going on. And so you just everybody's kind of sitting back and watching and, trying to keep things as normal as possible. It's just like anybody else.
Yeah, I think the best thing we can do is just heed the government's advice and the CDC's advice and, try and all get through this. I know everybody listening is anxious to get back to work and, get back to everyday life, but the reality is we've got to kind of follow some of these guidelines and, the social distancing part, it's, partly, you go on Instagram and stuff and you see partly there's jokes about it and memes and stuff, but then the reality is we do need to, this is a deadly virus and we need to make sure that we do our part to people out there that would be, highly capable of catching it. We need to make sure they don't. So let's wash our hands and just do the things we do. But I think one of the things for me is it gets my mind wandering to a lot of my hunts, whether they be this spring or the summer or this fall. But it just allows me to kind of clear my mind, and I'm not quite as busy as I usually am. I've been staying around my house quite a bit more, getting a few things done, getting some yard work done, but it allows me time to kind of think about those things that I love to do. I'm curious if you've had any of those moments, have you been out shooting your bow or anything where you're just kind of realizing how there's so many things that are important out there, and thinking about those things?
Yeah, well, I can certainly say my garage and all my gear has never been more organized. Definitely got after that this last week, and yeah, I just think you sit back and you look at the things that are important, and especially on the planning stuff, coming up for the fall. I haven't let this get in the way of it. I'm still planning on getting out there this fall and this summer and even this spring. Depending on what they tell us, and just trying to. Yeah, just kind of put the stuff in.
Good perspective on things, right? Just trying to keep everything in check. Brendan, we do a Q&A where I get questions from Instagram followers, and there's always great questions that customers have, and it's awesome to be able to get you on the line, someone that designs the gear and uses the gear from point A to point B, and get you on and talk to someone like yourself with KUIU and get these questions answered. So let's just dive into some of these, and there's some really interesting questions. I think you're going to enjoy this. So let's start out. Would love to see some sort of blaze orange panel that attaches to the KUIU packs. Is there any or any of that in the plans or works?
Yeah, I assume for Mark and yourself when you're packing out something or antlers or whatever.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. I'll definitely pass that along. That'd be a simple accessory. I usually just use an orange vest, but that's definitely something. I have a list going all the time of stuff we throw out there, and some of this stuff it just boils down to amount of bandwidth and time we have to produce it. But yeah, I'll definitely pass it along. It was a good idea. Yeah.
Here's another question. You're going to love this one. Actually, I love this question because it's one that I want, but I love it that one of my listeners put it in there. Are we going to see a big brim boonie hat for this summer?
We will not see it this summer. I have passed that along. I think on the last time we did the Q&A, I did pass that along, and I think they're looking at some stuff. And you big brim boonie guys are very specific in sizing and length and all that stuff, so they'll be working along on that. And some of this stuff, again, just boils down to bandwidth and how much time you can devote to it. We got a lot of other big things in the works, so but it's definitely been well noted. I'm sure we'll see it again on the questions, but it's definitely been noted.
It's one of those things, Brendan, when I see myself in the hat that I wear, like when I go hiking and stuff, and it's like, I mean, this thing's like a sombrero, like as big as it gets. I look at it and I'm like, that is the goofiest looking, dumbest looking hat. But I find myself when I'm, yeah. But I always find myself reaching for that hat because it gives me the most sun protection. So I know there's a lot of people out there too that, they hate seeing the pictures of themselves in it, but it seems like a lot of guys wear them.
Well, as a fairly light-skinned individual myself who burns, and I actually don't wear a hat that often, I'm going to have to give one a try. But yeah, it's definitely been well noted, and obviously, Jay, you're a big fan of those too. So
the cool factor might not quite convey with those hats, but the practicality would convey. So next question here. I'm loving all the Kutana line. Just feel like there's just feel like it's a missing shirt. It's missing a shirt. Any plans to make a Kutana tee?
Yeah, the Kutana fabric. Stress line would not be a great fabric for a T-shirt, in my opinion. I'm not really sure where that would sit, but pretty happy with the 125 Merino tee and the 118 Peloton, which gives you kind of some versatility, whether you like Merino or synthetic. For the guys that don't like Merino or that want to wear a synthetic, I feel like we're pretty covered on the T-shirt as far as fabrics go. But yeah, I mean, it makes the Katana, there's a lot of really good things that it does. I'm not sure that it would make a great T-shirt. I mean, denim is...
Well, because of the durability of the fabric of that technology, it's not one that I think of that's like close next to skin would be something that you would necessarily want, right? I mean, it's more, all of the Kutana line that I have, feel it, you definitely get that sense of that durability, and I'm just not sure that that's next to skin what most people are going to want. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm pretty happy with our T-shirt design now. Now, if he's talking like a missing shirt, like a button-up shirt or something like that. I mean, we're always looking at different fabrics and fabric weights and specs, and as far as some of that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Denim makes pretty nice jeans, but it's not that great on a shirt. So
yeah, one thing I think I might point out. There's the Ultra Tiburon Hybrid Zip Tee, which has just come out. I have not actually tried it, but from what I understand, it's got the Zip Tee functionality, but it's a highly breathable dot air fabric, and it has the high stretch Peloton 118 panels on the sides. So in essence, you're getting all of the benefits of the Tiburon, but you're also getting that soft feel of the Peloton 118 on the sides and the cuffs, which I'm sure you've tested that piece of gear. I have not, but it's definitely one that's in my wish list to get because it looks like a really good piece.
Yeah, the dot air, the restriction that you got from it in our previous shirts, we've eliminated with adding the stretch panels, and yeah, it's a really nice piece. And anybody that I think we've had quite a few questions in the past about when it's coming or how it did get released. It's on there right now. It's called the Ultra Tiburon Hybrid Zip Tee, and yeah, it's a really nice piece. It's just got a lot more freedom of movement. It's just a little, just the right fabrics in the right places. Super nice thing. I wore it at the trade shows a bunch this winter, and really like it. And so yeah, I'm going to be happy with that.
Brendan, it seems like KUIU is really going to a lot of these hybrid systems. With the different jackets, with the different pants, with the hybrid system where you're getting the best of both worlds. Would you say that, definitely from using the product and getting customer feedback that hybrid product where you're kind of getting a little more durability in some of those places, or maybe water resistant or water repellency in those areas, and then you're getting some more of the soft feel where you have the hot spots, so people can ventilate and stuff. Do you see KUIU, really pushing that hybrid product in the future?
Yeah, we've released quite a few hybrids this year. Like when you look at the 210 or the 260 that we came out with, and again, it's all designed around function. Whether you're wearing a pack or, like in this case, like the underarms and these areas, definitely you can use a little more stretch or a little more freedom of movement. Yeah, I mean the hybrid stuff is definitely allows us to just add some versatility to some of these pieces that when they were just about right, but maybe not totally perfect, and you can add a new fabric or, like I said, the hybrids are basically the exact right fabrics in all the right places. And, yeah, I think we're doing a really good job with that, and they're fun to work on. And there's some combinations we test that don't work out correctly, and the ones that we release, we're real happy with. So they're a lot of them are going to the hybrid type design.
Let's see, any closer to the product to keep the feet warm during long, cold glassing sessions?
All I can say is we're working on it. It's not that simple, but we're definitely working on it.
Okay, Outlet Pro Pants, worth it for lower 48 and building a gear bin.
Yeah, I love the Pro Pant for certain times of year. I mean, is it worth it? Yeah, I would say so. You can never have enough pants. I love I wore the Pro quite a bit just as it gets a little bit colder. And then there's just times when it's nice to have a knee pad. Now, some guys don't like a knee pad or some do. I don't like a knee pad until it gets just a little bit cooler out. Like I said, I want to run a little warmer. But, yeah, that's a nice pant. I think that I'm not sure what is exactly in the outlet. I think it's just a colorway that didn't sell that great But I think it's a pretty good deal, so I'd jump all over
that. Tell him to make a Pro Merino pant, ! With maybe air dot shins, then a 118 hoodie.
Always appreciate the input. A Pro Merino pant. We have the Pro Merino full zip long underwear, which is a really nice application for that. But a Pro Merino pant, I don't. Yeah, we have the full zip long underwear in now. Dot air shins. I don't know. I'll have to take a look at that. Caught me off guard with that one. 118 hoodie. I don't believe we have that in the works, but again, always appreciate the input, and that's a couple things I'll write down and get back to them on.
One of the things, Brendan, about a pro merino pant that I would worry about would be durability. And I think as soon as you probably heard that question, you were thinking the same thing. Yeah, it might be quiet for stocking around, but it would probably be a product that if you wore as an outer pant, it's not going to have a lot of durability. That would be one of the things that I would worry about with it.
It's not a tight enough weave to be a pant. I just don't think it would be the right fabric for a pant. I mean, certainly for a full zip on underwear like we build, I think it's a great application.
Is the Ultra pack line discontinued? That's the first question.
It is not discontinued. It's being updated. So no, it's
okay. So if they don't see it on the website, does that mean that it's not in stock, or?
Not necessarily. So it just depends. Some stuff, obviously, we're always working on new ways to improve our modular pack system. So we have some updates coming. That's an important line to us, and so we're always working on new things. And just because it's out of stock or it's sold out, an update's coming. I mean, we're obviously new fabrics. When you come back to like the hybrid stuff or whatever, we're always working on new stuff. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's discontinued or dead. It's just either getting updated or some things go away or replaced by other things. Like the Ultra suspension is going away in favor of we don't really need a second suspension. There's not enough weight differentiation between the two, and we feel like the new Pro suspension is far more comfortable and really solves a lot of the problems that we're trying to fix. So there's some things that get updated and moved around, but at the end of the day, not everything. Just because it's not on the site, obviously some stuff gets sold out, and just depends on the item. But not discontinued as of right now. Just getting worked on. So
okay.
Always looking to improve it.
Any plans for a new minimalist ultralight sleeping bag? Not a sleeping bag. Not at the moment. Definitely not on the sleeping bag at this point in time. I mean, the reality is the bags you guys make are so good and so light anyway. I mean, I know this guy's probably just talking about like a throw or something, but I mean, the 30-degree, I mean, I feel like the bag is, it's hard to beat the bag you guys have now.
Pretty small, pretty light, pretty packable. There's always new stuff out there. A lot of guys are always, and again, I'm the same way, always experimenting stuff. A lot of guys are going to quilts and super minimalist. It just depends on how it fits in your system. But as for KUIU, like we don't have any plans for a lighter sleeping bag that we make right now.
Any updates coming to synthetic layers and or new pieces?
Nothing I can speak about. Nothing coming out in the near future. We pretty much released all that stuff already.
KUIU Verde or Bias for Colorado?
Just going to depend on your preference and the area you're in. I mean, obviously, if you're in a lot of timber, elk hunting up high, greener, I'd lean towards the green. And if you're dead frost burn, later season type stuff, I'd lean or early, super hot plains type stuff. I'd lean towards the Bias. I kind of run a mixture of both, so it just depends on what your preference is.
Will KUIU make a light early season pant with knee pads?
I'm sure at some point in time we will. We've tested a few things. Nothing solid in the works that I can say is definitely coming right now. The knee pads are one of those things in the super warm weather. It's definitely a different knee pad than what you would currently like on a later season, kind of a colder pant because of the breathability. So
right.
There's some stuff you got to work on about breathability, and we're always looking at new things.
And that's what I found too, Brendan, with the knee pads on the different pants that you guys make. I mean, if it's warm at all, it seems that because of the nature of that pad, it's not very breathable. But definitely on the colder weather hunts, when the temperature is a lot lower, that's where you don't notice that. But definitely, on those, like archery elk hunts and early mule deer hunts and some of that, that's where I find that the knee pads, you can just feel kind of the clamminess, the warmth that they create.
Yeah, just depends. I find myself definitely liking knee pads later in the season than I do early, for sure.
Okay, this guy says, I'm a 36 inseam, 6'6". How will the 35 inseam work? Do they, do they run long enough?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the long inseams now, 37s on the side and the attack pan. I'd give those a try. Obviously, you can unhem them as well if you need longer, but I would say if you're a 36 inseam, I would go with the, I would definitely not try the 35. I'd go with the 37s.
Brendan, the attack, I mean, are they still the number one selling pant? I mean, when you guys came out with those, they just sold so well. Are they still kind of at the top of the food chain?
We still sell more of those than anything. That's correct.
Okay, the question says, Jason said on your podcast, you must be meaning my podcast, all merino/synthetic blends were fraud. Why now the Pro line?
It's a great question, and it's actually not a blend. I would say a blend is generally a way to make merino cheaper, and ours is not a blend. I mean, I've tried to make that super clear, and we've tried in our marketing and all the descriptions and stuff. It's a dual layer knit that gives you the best of both worlds, and what it means is it is 17.5 micron next to skin. A blend is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's chocolate and vanilla in the blender, and you get light brown, like that's what it is. This is not. This is a dual layer. So it's a dual layer knit that gives you the best of both worlds. It's, hydrophilic 17.5 micron merino next to skin with a hydrophobic poly eyelet construction on the outside. And what that does is it absorbs the water next to skin, pulls it through, and then it's pushed out and dispersed over these large eyelets that have quick drying surface time, or quick drying time because it spreads it out over the surface. They're super fast drying. It's a really, really cool piece, but yeah, it's definitely not a blend. We've never produced. I don't believe we've ever even messed around with a blend because it's just generally a way to make merino cheaper, and that's definitely not what the Pro is. It's a best of both worlds.
This question's about the Gale Force. Let's see, Gale Force set work for whitetail stand hunting in Midwest Illinois. Is the fabric noisy? So I think they're wanting to know if the Gale Force would be a good piece for whitetail stand hunting, and is it noisy?
Well, it'll definitely keep you warm. It wasn't really built for like stand hunting and staying quiet. If he's talking about keeping quiet, it's a windproof, waterproof hard shell built for protection that's got insulation. So I wouldn't call it quiet, especially when it gets super cold. I just used it in the Yukon. I went up with Greg McHale on a bison hunt, and we snowmobiled, a couple 100 miles. It's really built for protection. I've used it on Kodiak Island late season when it's really just nasty weather, and you're just looking for more protection and insulation in your piece. But it's kind of a loaded question, but I would not call it quiet as far as, I think I probably know what he's thinking about. It's definitely a hard shell. It's a hard face, so it's noisier. I wouldn't call it quiet at like close distances. But that's not really why we built it. I mean, it was tested on muskox on bison hunts, colder late season stuff, mountain type stuff when you're cruising around glass and moving. Really built for protection. And again, I think a lot of the quiet whitetail stuff that people are, use is not windproof or waterproof. It's kind of, it's just built for that, is for being quiet. So it's definitely, now you could certainly use it in those situations, but if you were wanting it to be super quiet, I definitely wouldn't put it in that category.
I think what he's probably pushing at is like whitetail stand hunting, like bow hunting. He's not saying that, but maybe I'm speculating and, wanting like some sort of fleece jacket where it's super quiet when you draw your bow. But what you're saying is, for those times when you're stand hunting in the Midwest where you are getting those fronts and those snowstorms and rainstorms where you want to sit all day, absolutely for rifle hunting where being able to sit in the elements all day, it's absolutely would work for that, right?
Yeah, I mean it's built for it's built for keeping you warm and for serious protection in really, really cold, nasty weather. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you think of, riding snowmobiles, muskox hunting, really long glassing sessions when it's just pounding weather. I mean, like I said, I used to on Kodiak, we just had some awful weather. It's just for those super windy, super cold, just that big time protection. That's why we built it. I mean, when you think about muskox hunting or bison hunting late, that's what it was built in those type of applications. It's a really awesome, and it's more of a parka cut. Like just a cold weather piece. It really kind of our first time diving into that really lower end cold weather stuff.
Brendan, I have not seen the Gale Force myself or touched it or anything. From a standpoint of thickness, like how the Super Down Pro, like I kind of have an idea of density, like how thick it is. Is it like that, but with a shell on it, or not as much insulation, say, as a Super Down Pro jacket or pants?
Heavier duty than that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's even more heavy duty.
Yeah, it's synthetic insulation, but it's definitely heavy duty. I mean, it's substantial. I wouldn't call it super packable. I wouldn't call it super quiet, but everything else, it's windproof, waterproof, insulated, hard shell pole protection for like the nastiest cold weather you could throw at it. Like I said, I think it got down to when I was using on the bison hunt, we saw a low of like negative 35, and I had a Super Down underneath it just because I run a little bit cold. But I mean, it's for that type of those really nasty weather for sure.
I want to back up for a second. You talked about hunting with Greg for buffalo and some of the temperatures that you were telling me about. Sleeping in those temperatures. How many days were you out? You talk about covering a couple 100 miles on snowmobiles. Like, would you make a camp every night? Tell me how that went.
Yeah, we had one place that we camped that was in a really good spot for us because we brought a chainsaw and had winter camping is one of those things that it was a really cool trip for me, and Greg invited me up. He does a bison hunt every winter, and to be that remote and a cold camp. I wasn't a hunter, obviously. I'm not a resident of the Yukon, but it gets you out of your comfort zone. I mean, I don't think people realize, and I don't. I mean, I live in Montana, but I still, to be 75 miles from a road and to camp out in winter when you're seeing temperatures dip at night to negative 40, and that winter camping, and it just requires so much gear and so much food and so much, it was a really cool trip. And we stayed out, I think, 4 days. Greg killed a gigantic bison, which was incredible. The temperatures were nasty, and especially when you're riding a snowmobile. I mean, you had whatever the speed you're going, you're going to add that much wind to what you're doing, and then getting hot too, as well, throwing a sled around. I'm not the greatest snowmobile rider on the planet, so I struggled a bit getting around. But it was just a cool thing to go up and just get out of your comfort zone. I've done some winter camping and some really cold weather camping, but not like this. It was just a really cool trip, and I'm sure Greg will have Greg on, and you can talk more about some of this. But it was just a cool experience, and obviously a massive animal, and they're not afraid of anything. They're one of the toughest things on the planet. There's no amount of cold weather, predators basically don't affect them at all, and really they're just kind of out there living in the middle of nowhere. But to be that remote and to sleep out in that kind of cold weather is it's definitely eye-opening, and it just gets you out, like I said, out of my comfort zone, and it was a really cool thing to experience, and it was cool.
And you said Greg's just a savage beast.
Yeah, he's an animal.
He's an animal.
Well, and Greg, obviously, being was a former world-ranked adventure racer. I mean, the guy is definitely an animal. But even like between Alaska and the Yukon and guys in BC, even I live in Montana. We just don't have to be 75 miles from the nearest road is a level of remoteness that we don't have here. I mean, you can't get that far from a road where I live. I mean, you go, that's twice through the Bob Marshall. It's to be that far in is it's just really you really get a feel for how small you are in those type of situations. And and it's just everything you do has to be well thought out, and you want to make sure you're not breaking down. You've got enough fuel, and we got a chainsaw, and you're obviously making a fire and warmth, and food and all that kind of stuff. It just takes a level of thought to being prepared on that stuff that's just definitely, it's another skill set to acquire. Camping in the wintertime it's definitely it's an adventure, that's for sure.
Greg just kills me because I get on Instagram and I follow him, on his storyboard, and every morning 4:30 he's got his rowing. He's on his rowing machine and he's doing this and doing that and running out there with his headlamp, and there's snow. I mean, it's just like, good gosh, he makes me feel like I'm the laziest guy on the planet. That guy's unreal.
Yeah, I got that's really what he's doing too. I mean, I obviously stayed with him a few days, and I wasn't up doing the work at 4:30, but he was every day.
You said you heard noise, and you're like, what the heck is that? And Greg's down there just pounding it out in the morning. Unbelievable.
Just running. Yeah, it's funny. I was not doing that. I was recovering from some face windburn. But no, it was cool. We had a great trip, and like something I definitely want to incorporate every year. It was really, really a cool thing. And like I said, just fun to get out of your comfort zone and learn a new skill set.
Okay, which is more kind of fun in parentheses, bear or sheep hunt? Lance says everything in Alaska is kind of fun.
I love them both. Like I would say sheep hunt's more physical, and a bear hunt, like in the moment of truth, is probably more intense. But not necessarily. I mean, if you only get a chance, you want to do each and see if you can get on a trip, whether you're accompanying somebody or going on your own. I mean, they're both awesome. They're just different. And like anything, like it is. I always tell people, like, a lot of these hunts, like, they're not really fun until you're done, or until you. I mean, I don't know. I think fun's not even the right word. It's there's just not a lot of time, even when you're any of the backpack hunts I do, or I did 2 sheep hunts this last fall, and I wouldn't say there was a ton of fun. I mean, you're smiling, joking in misery, but they're physical, they're demanding, and it's pushing yourself to the limit. And on the bear hunt, a lot of it's really bad weather and boredom and glassing, and they're like, I don't know. I guess you think of fun. I don't think of fun as either of them. I think of it's a lot of hard work to get what you want out of it. I don't know.
It's almost a sense of accomplishment, right? Like you finished it. Like I did it. I was able to do it. I managed through it, and I got it done. It's more of a feeling like that, right? Rather than, boy, let's go ride a roller coaster. Like, no, it's like a grind. At the time, it's not fun, but when you start looking back at it, sometimes it takes a longer period of time than others. Then sometimes are more fun than others, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, like, you don't know the sweet unless you've tasted the bitter, and
right.
It takes a good mouthful of bitter to know how good the sweet is. So it's like anything that's really special to you or really earned has to be earned. I mean, the stuff that you really look back on and go like, man, I thought that. I mean, I've had one fairly easy sheep hunt, the rest of them been super tough, and I can say that one is by far my least favorite because it was not as tough as it could have been. The tougher ones are the ones you remember, and same with the ones where the success. It's just one of those things. Like you earn it. The harder you have to work to earn it, the more it means to you. So I would say, physically, I would say the sheep hunts are definitely more difficult, if that's the question. But they both can have their. I mean, like the brown bear hunt 2 years ago. I mean, like, yeah, it was great. Killed a huge bear. It was incredible. Got some bad weather, and when you're even after arrow this giant bear, when you're sleeping out and it's 3:00 in the morning, you can't feel your feet, and you're walking along the beach doing laps. It's like, I wouldn't call that fun. Now I look back on it, and it makes me laugh, and it was awesome. And there's nothing I would change about the entire thing, but I would not necessarily classify it as fun. Worth every penny and worth doing, but not fun.
Yeah, and if Lance says everything's kind of fun, I mean, that's Lance sugarcoating it too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, anything you gotta work super hard at. It's just like anything. It's great when it's over. It's awesome to look back on, and you truly earn it. Like anything that you have to earn. And I think anybody can relate. I mean, there are hunts that you go on where, man, it just worked out right away, and it's just like you can hardly remember those hunts where, first day, opening minute success, and it just, that's how it worked out, but you don't look at them and go like, oh, that was amazing. It's, day 10 of a, 8-day experience that and having success, they're the ones that you really, remember.
Yeah. All right, long inseam and the rest of your pant line with multiple exclamation points.
I'm sure that depends. I think I don't make all those decisions. Obviously, I'm sure it depends on demand and how it sells. If it sells really well, and obviously that's something that's one of the things about our business that we will know, like what the demand is, and I'm sure we'll be expanding into at least some of the later season stuff. But yeah, I'm guessing it's going to depend on demand.
Which quarter zip hoodie is the best all around in your opinion?
Well, I don't think they really fall into all around. So I would say early season, like when it's hot, I really like the 145 hoodie now. Love that piece. I find myself wearing it all the time.
It's my favorite.
It's super soft, and yeah, I mean, I would say early season. That's the one I like the most. Mid-season, the Pro Merino now has turned into my mid-season go-to piece. I love that. I mean, if I'm wearing it as kind of a standalone lightweight piece and something, I would go with the 240. The full zip is I guess you asked in quarter zip. And then when I was up on the bison hunt, the perfect mid layer when it's super, super cold is the 260 hybrid. And I love that thing when it's super cold. So I would say those three are kind of my go-to right now. I mean, the 145, the Pro Merino, and the 260. The 260 was awesome when it was super cold. That was all I wore. We were breaking down the bison. You kind of strip down. There's a lot of work to do. It's super cold, but you're working a lot, getting heated up, and I love that piece. So I would say those three as far as quarter zips, which I guess that's almost everything we make, so you need them all.
Well, the thing is, too, for the Southwest stuff out here, one of the things I liked wearing last season was the 210 quarter. I wore it a ton. Just because the 260, the application, I wasn't in that cold of weather, so I found myself wearing the 210 a lot more and really liked that piece. Although I didn't have it in the hoodie. It's just right.
Yeah, and like I said, the Pro Merino it dries so fast. I mean, I had an instance. We were in the NWT this year, and that's what I took a 145 hoodie as one of my layers, and the Pro Merino, and I went on stock on a ram that didn't work out. I ended up getting the sheep, and we just got pounded in a downpour. And I had about a mile walk back to our gear, and of course was in a rush, and so I didn't bring my rain gear and just got soaked. But I was shocked how fast it dried out. So, it all depends on the application. But those three are kind of my go-to that I've been wearing, in the last year.
Okay, what's your rifle build for a sheep hunt? Caliber, weight, barrel length, and optics.
I have a couple different sheep rifles that I have built. The one that I got a couple. It depends on what. And a lot of it is, my goal has always been with a rifle is a 6-pound, 600-yard gun. So one of them that I've used the most is a 6.5 284. It's a Remington 700 titanium action. It's got a 4-to-14 loophole. I'm going to say a Berry X5, but don't quote me on that, with a low turret. And it goes to 650 yards on the turret. And like I said, a rifle is more of a paperweight until you need it on a sheep hunt. The 1,000-yard gun application for sheep hunting does not have a lot of use for me. I mean, first of all, I'm not going to take that type of a shot on a sheep, especially when, on some of these northern sheep hunts where you have a wound policy, and you just flat don't want to wound a sheep. I mean, you can get closer, you can wait them out. I've waited for days for them to come out, taking a shot at a long range and potentially wounding something and having to walk out of there without your sheep. When for me, I like 400 and in on shooting. So my goal is always a 6-pound, 600-yard gun. I have a Gunworks 7 LRM as well that I think is about 7.25 pounds. That's an absolute hammer too. That I used this fall on the sheep hunt up in in Alaska. But yeah, it just depends. I mean, you want a gun that you shoot really well. I mean, I think you and I talked once when you and you were going up with Lance on your 14C hunting, you know, as far as big calibers and all that, it's just like, man, you want a gun that you can shoot accurately, and you don't need something that's gigantic. I mean, you look at some of these rifles that are 10+ pounds, and you know, if that's what you need to feel comfortable shooting, then I would definitely start cutting some other stuff out of your system. But you know, like I said, for me, my goal is always, you know, a 6-pound, 600-yard gun. That's you know, and I think between my two sheep rifles that I have used mostly, one is a 6.5 284. You know, 6.5 PRC is really good. 6.5 Creedmoor is, I would consider a little small, but there's a lot of sheep getting killed with them. And then on the bigger side is the 7 LRM or 3. I mean, you can't have too much. You know, any 7mm or 300 type caliber is great for sheep as well, and just something you shoot really well to have a lot of confidence in. You know, I take a bipod too. You know, like I like a bipod. I feel like if I'm secure, it can be anchored and can have my gun just sitting exactly where it needs to be, where I'm barely even touching it, and it's on the animal. I mean, I shot the ram at Ultimate Thule this fall at 399 yards. Shot him 4 times, no problem. But like, it's sure nice when you're anchored.
2019 Mountain Academy video release, and what date will it be released?
That's every single time we've had a question.
We've covered that several times.
It is coming out within the next 2 weeks, I believe. You just keep an eye on the site out for it. There'll be a newsletter coming out, but it is coming out.
Okay, last question here, but there's a couple of them within this question. Heading to Arctic Red River August 5th through the 16th for sheep. What pant would you suggest, Tiburon or Katana or ? Let's start there.
Hard to beat the Katana for that type of hunt, that time of year. I'd go with the Katana. That's super happy with those. I took those on both my sheep hunts this summer. Now, unless you knew it was going to be crazy, crazy hot, which I've had one of those before, but the Katana pant is pretty hard to beat for a sheep hunt, so I would say Katana.
Yeah, I would second that too, for sure, on the Katana. Okay, the question goes on. I like my KUIU Merino long underwear. Is the new pro stuff needed for my hunt?
Not needed. It just depends on that time of year. I would say I would either go with the 145, or I tend to take the 97, because if you're really the 97 Peloton, because and again, he said merino, I'm just going to throw my personal gear choice in here because I kind of bounce all around. I take the 97 because it's lighter and it dries super fast. And if you get to the point where you really get cold that time of year, it's just a little more substantial than the merino. But I've taken the merino, and I've taken, I tend to take the 97 just because it's a lot lighter in my system, and you're not going to find yourself wearing them that much. You generally might be sleeping in it during those dates. So that's either the 145 or the 97, either one. If you like merino, go with the 145. If you like a synthetic, go with the 97.
All right. Then he goes on to say, KUIU needs a Nalgene bottle holder for the pack hip belt. It's too hard to reach around the pouch on pack.
Working on it. I too have nearly disjointed my shoulder getting my water bottle out, so I totally hear that. And it's definitely on the development list. Yep.
Okay, and then lastly, he wants to know if he needs a flashlight for that hunt August 5th through the 16th up there.
I'd take a headlamp. I wouldn't take a flashlight. I'd take a headlamp, and you'll have some dark days in that time of year for sure. You will definitely. It's not light 24/7 in ours, that's for sure.
Yeah, I remember when I was there a month earlier in July, it was basically light 24 hours. So I would say that would not be something you would need. Although having a little headlamp, it's hard for people to grasp coming from down here and going up there that it's basically you can see 24 hours a day. So for sake of ease of mind, it might be something, just take the lightest weight headlamp you've got. But I don't ever remember seeing it dark on the 9 days that I was out.
Usually not getting dark while I'm awake. Although last year we stalked sheep actually one day, like all the way through, I guess what you would consider the middle of the night. I mean, you basically can hunt. We waited till 3 a.m. to go after one, and yeah, I mean, it's always good to have a small headlamp, though. You never know when you're going to need it. Yeah, I would take one, especially that time of year. You'll definitely need one. So.
Brendan, with all the application season and everything, we're done with the questions, but with all the application season, anything you're particularly, sitting on a bunch of points, or anything that you think that you might have a pretty good chance to draw out there, or anything you're eyeballing?
Yeah, I actually put in for a unit in Wyoming this year. I'm hoping to draw. I should have enough points. Looking forward to that. My son's going to be 8 years old here, so starting to kind of formulate some of my fall plans around, taking him with me. He's learning how to. Well, he's already a better caller than I am as far as elk goes. So hopefully he'll be able to help me out this fall. I'm looking just some early season stuff that him and I can go do. Obviously going to hunt Montana. I'm going with a friend to the Yukon to help him out on a stone sheep hunt, which will be I'm really looking forward to. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what he draws. I'm kind of in that mid-range, which I'm sure a lot of guys find themselves in on that. I've got between 12 and 17 points just about everywhere for just about everything, which is just not enough to guarantee you're going to draw anything. So I'm in for everything everywhere, and this is kind of that time of year where it's kind of playing the waiting game and seeing what you draw. I mean, I guess I got rejected in Alaska already on everything but a caribou tag, which we'll see if I have time to go hunt. And yeah, just kind of, planning the stuff around. Got a few big trips planned this fall, obviously, but really a lot of it, as my son gets older, I'm trying to, do as much close as I can or stuff I can bring him with where it's not the most, just to kind of get him out there with me and have some fun. And yeah, so we'll see. I would love to draw Nevada or one of those, but well, you just can't guarantee anything anymore.
Yeah. Has Lucas been in a situation where he's really gotten to hear elk, really bugling and getting after it? I mean, has he truly seen it really good yet?
No, not in the rut yet. We have not got into it. I've taken him a couple times. He was with us. Beth shot a great big bull 2 years ago during the rifle season, and he was with us when we got it. It was really cool. Just absolutely awesome, and he was 6 then. But no, we haven't really got into the bull streaming. He came and helped me pack a bull out in 2015, and there were some bulls going crazy, but he was pretty small. He was like, I guess he'd have been 3.5 at the time, so he was, he came and helped us pack one out. So no, that's what I'm looking forward to this fall. And it's like I said, he's 8, he's super into it, could not be more addicted. He just loves it. So
he does. It's amazing.
I'm kind of planning some of my applications around, nice time of year too. Again, when we're talking about hunting, there's a lot of stuff that's not that much fun. My wife continues to tell me, like, let's try not to stake them on stuff that doesn't involve fun or nice weather. So we get out there a bunch, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun. And yeah, how about you? Are you applying this year? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I've got,
you're in?
I'm in. I've got hopes for different things. But again, the best option I have is Arizona deer. I have 19 points, so I'm 1 point probably shy of the max pool for 13B rifle. I could probably draw 13A rifle deer up on the strip. So that's probably my best chance. And it's one of those things that, on a year like this, as good a moisture as we've had and a great year last year, I'm considering putting in for 13A. I've always just done 13B, trying to get that one time to hunt, on 13B on the strip. But, 13A on a great year, back-to-back great years, I think that could be an option for me as well. So we'll see. Going back, I got one more question. You talk about with Lucas, and, he's getting to be 8. In a lot of these states, you have to be 10, some you have to be 12, 14 years old. As you move forward, do you truly anticipate your passion for hunting might take a back seat to wanting to make sure that Lucas gets exposed and has the best opportunities that he can? I mean, do you see that moving forward being more of a goal of yours than some of your own personal hunting goals?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said, I've had more opportunities than any human being should possibly have. Like he definitely can't feel. Like I've had way more opportunities than I ever thought I'd have. So yeah, I mean, like right now, if I could give every one of my tags to him and going forward and do whatever, I think it's probably going to be a mix. But yeah, I mean, like anything I can do with him. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, you can't hunt deer until you're basically. I think there's some. You can kind of hunt when you're 10 on a youth mentor program here in Montana, but he's a couple years away from that, and he shot a couple deer in Texas now. I mean, we have a friend that's super generous, lets us come down and we do some calling, and he's shot a couple of nice bucks on the guy's place, which is really cool. And yeah, I mean, whatever I can do to keep him, it's not hard to keep him interested. It's really all he wants to do. So just keeping that fire lit in him and having him take on some of these things without burning them out or doing something that is over. It's kind of that fine line where you want it to be fun and you want them to kind of push the envelope a little bit. I mean, we're going to do an overnight camp out. We'll probably, if I draw the cell tag at Wyoming, we'll be camping out. The weather will be nice, but we might spend a few days out. And so just trying to expand his horizons a little bit and push his envelope a little bit without making it miserable, and still trying to keep it fun. I mean, I try to keep the drives to a minimum. But no, he was in the blind last year with me when I shot a really nice whitetail buck, and he got to pick it out. I said, "You just tell me which one to shoot." And so yeah, I mean, my focus is definitely, and I have a daughter who's 4 years old too, Gray, and if she's into hunting, she doesn't seem to be as much as him right now, but she's only 4, so if that's the case as well, I'm fully. I absolutely think there could be nothing better. So, but yeah,
that's fantastic.
You've seen Lucas. I got my hands full with him. So.
He's awesome, man. He's something, one of a kind. I was so proud of him. I was at the Western Hunting Expo, and it was one of the banquet nights, and they came. The singer came on, or maybe I'm not sure if they sang it live or if they did a recording, but the Lee Greenwood song "Proud to Be an American" came on, and Lucas didn't even hesitate when he heard the music. Brendan, I think you were getting prepared because you were going to get pulled up on stage, but I was at your table, and he just stood up on his chair, put his hand over his heart, and started singing. It was one of the coolest things. I immediately got my phone out and started videoing it because it was like there was nobody else standing, and here's Lucas Burns just standing and singing with he did not care if anybody in the room was looking at him. He was, as earnest as he could be, singing and proud, and it was awesome. So I was just like beaming.
It's kind of a funny story behind that. About 3 years ago, we were down there, and Lee Greenwood was actually there, and so Lucas got to meet him, and then he's downloaded his song on the Kindle and all that stuff. So that's how he knows the song, and yeah, he still refers to him as my friend Lee Greenwood.
That's fantastic. He's a great kid. That's awesome. Well, buddy, it's always great having you on the podcast. It's great having a direct connection to KUIU to be able to get answers like this from KUIU, and I know the KUIU customers really enjoy this, so I look forward to doing a lot more of these in the future. And just want to thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge with us for sure.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, like obviously California is kind of under lockdown, but our customer service is open right now still. Like we are trying to keep everything as normal as possible. Obviously, everybody knows what's going on, but customer service is open right now. They're forwarding all the calls. The call center is open from 7 to 3 p.m. Pacific. We are still shipping, and until they tell us otherwise, we're going to continue to do so. We're just trying to keep everything as normal as we can, and if you have any questions on anything, call up. Nothing kind of gets you out of your current space, like talking about hunting and all the gear and all that stuff. And same with me. If anybody has any questions on gear or anything, shoot me an email, BrendanB@KUIU. I will. I'm happy to answer them. And yeah, like I said, we're just trying to. Everything is business as usual for us. We'll react as we need to. We're doing everything that is put in place and following all the protocols that's laid out. But we're trying to keep everything business as normal at KUIU. And we appreciate everybody that's continuing to shop and continuing to write in and call in, and anything we can help at. Team is still there, and everybody's ready to do whatever we can. So Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. It's, it's a lot of fun to support a brand like KUIU, and KUIU stepping forth and doing the relocation and transplanting those sheep. It's an amazing thing, and KUIU for me is an easy brand to support because you guys are doing great things and will continue to do great things. So look forward to it, buddy. Congratulations on all your success, and we look forward to having you on here again soon.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Okay, take care.